McConnell. She helps people to transform their health through
Oh
their
my God.
bodies. Kylie, she's a transformative, juicy transformational coach and consultant. Oh
Do,
my
do,
goodness.
do.
I'm so excited to be here. We have Kylie McConnell. She is a coach, I don't know, I'm sure there's so many different things to describe you. She's a
I've been called
vivacious
a
character.
sorceress, so we
She's
can
a
we can go with
sorceress.
sorceress.
She's a sorceress. She's a bodywork professional, Chinese medicine expert, Eastern medicine.
Eastern medicine.
Eastern medicine, and I'm so excited to have you on today. We're just going to be talking a little bit about what you do, who you serve, why you do it, and how people can apply some of the work that you do into their own life to live more funnily.
Beautiful. Love it.
And
Thanks for having me, man.
yeah, so I'll open up the floor to you now, and just share a little bit about your journey of how you ended up doing what you're doing and where you started and all of that.
Absolutely. So I'm a very experiential person. I think that so many of us are stuck in their heads. So right off the bat here, I would actually love for all of us to take a breath together. So everyone that's watching, you can even close your eyes if that helps to close down the visual stimulation. And let it be really easy. Exhale any air out that you have. Take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth with the sigh. Let's do a couple more like that. In the nose. One more, really giving yourself permission to be in your body. Super cool. So I'm going to invite you to notice just the difference between before a few breaths and after a few breaths. It's wild. It's different. So as Michael shared, I'm Kylie. I created something called Juicy Transformations because I was born in an entrepreneurial family. I have a dad that started a theatrical lighting company when he was 17 years old and is almost 60 now. So he's definitely my role model for entrepreneurship. And I saw as a little girl, like how truly important it is to, as an entrepreneur, enjoy it, like to enjoy being an entrepreneur. So I know, interesting, right? Like this thing that we love doing, the thing that's our unique gift in the world, to actually enjoy doing it. Obviously, we know that means it's going to provide greater results. But I learned firsthand, being the daughter of an entrepreneur, what happens on the other side of that when there's a lot of stress, and how it not only impacts you and your health, but it impacts your family. It impacts your ability to make money. It impacts your health. Like, it impacts so much having stress, right? So I now live here in the gorgeous San Diego, and it is an epicenter for conscious entrepreneurs. And yeah, I guess I'll back up just a tiny bit. I went through a healing journey. I had an autoimmune condition and went through a healing journey where I really learned about everything health, being in the body. I opened up San Diego's first cold pressed juice bar. Like, I love learning how to nourish these vessels so that we can show up fully in our lives, you know? And yeah, and then I took that, again, with the experience of how I grew up and what I encountered in my own life, went down the route of trauma release work, because I discovered how much I was holding in my body and how that contributed to me getting sick. So really went the route of, now I share, as you mentioned, something called Transformational Bodywork, where I help people permanently remove, release, transform trauma, stress, tension, and toxicity, so they don't have to carry it around, and so it doesn't show up as blocks in their lives.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being here. And if anyone's here, if you have any questions at any point, just drop them in the comments below. And I'm curious, who would you say is like gets the most benefit out of the work that you do?
Oh, that's a great question. So, so funny. Okay, so the people that are perfect for this work, I call them. I don't usually tell them this, but I call them gushers. Do you remember those
Yes, a
candies, the
candy.
gushers? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like they have this shell, but on the inside they're so juicy. And this is the people that like I believe get the most out of this work. I can feel them. Being a feeler, I very much feel how much they have to share and their potential and like that juiciness of who they are and what they're here to give. But there's some shell, there's something that's stopping them from letting that juiciness, that like gooiness in the middle just burst out into their world and really be fully expressed. So I would say it's
Hmm.
absolutely best for entrepreneurs, leaders, creatives that know that they have something inside and like they just want to live fully and enjoy their lives and contribute what really only they can, but something's blocking them from doing that.
Hmm. Okay. I want to dig a little bit deeper here.
Okay.
What what does that what does that juicy goodness on the inside, what does that look like when it is released?
Mm.
When it does come out?
Love
I
it.
love this whole like analogy because it sounds really it
Isn't
sounds
it
good.
great? I know. Thank God for whomever created Gusher candies. So it's really interesting because it looks different for everyone, but I would say, there tend to be common themes of how it shows up. So really fully expressed, fully living in that aliveness and authentic power. Um, It's fun. I'll share in a second what it looks like. I want to share first what it feels like
Hmm.
because that I find it will look different. I've worked with clients, I've been doing this for almost a decade now, about 8 years. And so it always looks different. But how it feels, I would actually say this is the greatest thing is so when I first, am talking to my clients during our work, their voice is really fast. They're in the go, go, go. They are stuck in their heads. Their breathing is shallow. They're worried. They're stressed. They feel like they never have enough time. And then after said juicy transformation, I joke that when I hear them on the phone, even a couple months after we start, when I, pardon me, when I talk to them on the phone, I feel like they're so calm and they're so in their body and they're just so peaceful and so able to flow with whatever life brings to them. Like it just rolls off like water on a duck's back. That I joke that it sounds like they have an umbrella in their drink when I'm talking to them. So
Mm.
it feels like this balance. It feels like spaciousness. It feels like there's a calm and a clarity and just feeling like fully capable and able of doing whatever it is that they want to do. So for some people that shows up as like I have a client Blake that lived up the street from the beach, but he never went because he was always so busy with work and doing and stressed and anxious. And then I would talk to him. He's like, "Hey, we're going to the beach, or I'm going on a camping trip with my girlfriend this weekend." Constantly after working with clients, we'll be on a call and they're like, "Hey, I'm in this place. I'm in this place." So they're traveling more. They're doing the things that they've always wanted to be doing. It really seems like one of the main ways that it shows up is all of the things that they had been efforting for so many years seem to just kind of quote unquote drop in their lap on a silver platter because we've released the resistance and they actually have the spaciousness to allow in what it is that they were wanting. So again, it looks different for everyone. I had a client a couple weeks ago that for years had been trying to close this deal. We worked together and we've had maybe 10 sessions and this deal finally closed after he's been trying forever. And it was one deal, $80,000 in commission. Like that's all
Mm.
that he has to do as a real estate agent. It's it closed. For others, it's that they find the love of their lives. For others that have been married for over 20 years and were on the brink of divorce, it's that they have juicy sex and intimacy again, and they've just fallen more deeply in love with their partner than they ever have before. Yeah. So lots of different
Wow.
ways that it can show
That's
up,
so
but
amazing.
it feels, they're like, one of the things I hear most often is they're like, I feel light and I feel more myself.
Wow. Thanks for sharing all of that. I want to take
Yeah.
a second here for everyone watching. We're here with Kylie McConnell, Juicy Transformations, and she does transformational body work. She actually does live events. So she has one coming up in April. So if you want to connect with her about that, or so she has one coming up in April, another full week long retreat happening in May. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but I'm just kind of teasing it a little bit. But if you think that you might be like a good fit to work with, or you're like really interested in working with Kylie, she is doing something super special for anyone that watches this interview or listens to this. And she is offering what she calls a juicy jumpstart. It's a 90-minute virtual session to get clear on where you're at, what you want, and what's in the way, and then create a plan of action. So if you're interested in getting that, you can go ahead and text Juicy Jumpstart to 913-244-8588 with your name and email, and then she will follow up with you to schedule a great time for that juicy jumpstart. So Kylie, thank you so much for being here. Oh my goodness. And I've been to one of Kylie's day-long bodywork, transformational bodywork sessions, and it was amazing. I really felt after that day, like particularly like right after that day, number one, I was sore, but number two, I felt lighter in general, and just really, I think after some of the exercises, like we remarked that I literally was taller than I was at the beginning of the day,
Yeah.
which is usually the opposite. You're usually shorter at the end of the day. But after this transformational bodywork, I was taller and I felt more aligned. So if you're interested in getting any of that or having something else that some of your juices come out to the outside, go ahead and text Kylie at 913-244-8588 with a juicy jumpstart, your name and your email. So I want to dig into, I'm going to leave that on the screen for a minute or two here. I want to dig in a little bit about how this all works, like in the body. So, so we took that deep breath at the beginning, and you were like, I really wanted us to experience that experiential effect of just like taking a deep breath and exhaling with that sigh. And like, what does that do for the body? Like, how does that actually cause some kind of movement inside of us?
That is a great question. Oh my gosh. Okay, I will request your help. If I nerd out too much on this, please pause me because this is so fascinating to me. And those watching, like, it's wild. So we'll start, I'll share two things. The first thing, just with this work in general, you've heard that the body keeps score, right? You've heard of this concept?
Yes.
So our body is known as the physical representation of our subconscious. So when we are like, oh no, I don't want to handle that stress, I'll handle it later, or we stuff an emotion, it doesn't just magically pixie dust into the ethers. It gets stored, it gets like logged as an open loop in our physical bodies. So this is one of the main premises of where tension, stress, trauma comes from. But the breath specifically, so you know about fight or flight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so fight or flight is our sympathetic nervous system. And then our other bit that balances that is called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is also known as rest and digest. It's where our body does its natural healing processes. It's that counterpart to the fight or flight mode.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense so
Okay,
far?
it does. It does. So just
So,
to clarify, we got the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. We're like,
yes,
right, and that's something happens, and we're fighting or flying, and
survival
then
mode. Yep.
survival mode. And then the parasympathetic is when we're like resting, relaxing, digesting. It's like why I fall asleep after I eat a big meal.
Totally. It's where our body's healing and rejuvenating, filling its cup up, basically.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So the breath itself, if you take anything away from this one interview, I'm going to invite you to take away the power of your breathing. It is something that you need to do to be alive. So you're going to be doing it
Noted.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's free. It's with you all the time. So it's just one of the most powerful tools that we have available. So there's emotional, spiritual components to it, and there's very scientific components to it. And I'll speak to the science first,
Okay.
which are when you breathe. So again, I'm going to invite us to do it. You can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever feels good for you. So when you breathe, I'm going to invite you, again, just through the nostrils to take a nice, easy breath in and out through the nose. So as I continue speaking, I'm going to invite you to continue doing that, breathing in the nose and out the nose. As you're doing this, what happens is we're actually slowing down the lungs. So the lungs, as you breathe in, will expand, right? And then as they contract, they compress, they shrink. So our lungs are going in and out. So when we actually slow it down consciously, what that does is it activates our parasympathetic nervous system, because it's almost like tricking the body and saying, hey, we can be calm. We can get in that rest and digest and relax mode because our lungs are breathing slowly. They're slowing down, and our lungs are connected with basically all of our other organs through something called your vagus nerve. So I'm curious how many people here have heard of the vagus nerve?
Oh, me. I've
Yeah,
heard of it.
yeah,
If
totally.
you've heard of it, drop a comment down below.
Yes, the vagus
Get involved in
nerve.
the comments.
Said like it said like Las Vegas. My brother one time, just a quick side note, he was calling the I think like the vagus nerve, and I was like, definitely, it's like Las Vegas. So vagus nerve, it's the longest nerve in your
Hmm.
body, and it connects. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna make a joke. I was like,
I know.
the vagus nerve. It's that nerve that gives you the ability to waste all your money at the tables.
Totally, because you're
Sorry,
so chilled out.
it's just a lot. Yeah.
So it connects your lungs with it, because it connects all the organs. When we slow down the lungs, it connects that slowness with the rest of your organs. So basically, it's activating that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest. So when your lungs slow down with the breathing, that slowness will be communicated to the rest of your organs to say, hey, it's cool to go in rest and digest mode. It's cool to relax right now. So this is talking to our liver, our kidneys, our adrenal glands, which are the guys that sit on top of the kidneys that produce adrenaline and stress hormones, telling them like, hey, it's cool to chill out. We don't need to produce stress hormones. We got the signal from the vagus nerve that we're actually safe right now to relax. Is that making sense?
It is. It is making a lot of sense.
So the vagus nerve is just, it's one of our like coolest tools to be able to get into this state. And it really, I mentioned the word safety. It does go a lot back to safety. It's that safety to relax. It's a safety to be here in this moment. It's a safety to be in our bodies, again, which is the opposite of that fight or flight mode, where literally your body produces stress hormones and chemicals so intensely that if you needed to run or fight for your very existence, like for your life, if you had a saber-toothed tiger and you needed to either kill it or run for your life, that's the stress hormones that we get released in fight or flight. So it's very much survival mode. They're very
And that
powerful.
happens all the time. Like you have that level of adrenaline and other hormones and chemicals that are naturally produced in your body, but they're pumping out to help you to survive when most of the time we're not
When you get a
really in a
text
place
from
that we
your
need to
mom.
get.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whew, that's intense.
It's intense, right? And these guys, it's not just like, oh man, it's intense. It's literally they stress hormones. So let's say cortisol, for example, gets released in your brain. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It's actually a healthy thing. Cortisol is a stress hormone that helps you to wake up in the morning and have the physical motion to get out of bed. So it's helpful. However, when it's produced chronically, it's actually toxic to our brain. It starts shutting down brain function when there's too much produced. So
Wow.
yeah, this is one of, and it's known, perfect times for this right now, but it's known that these stress chemicals are one of the top things that suppress our immune system. So it literally can lead to like, this sounds so dramatic, but human demise, like
Yeah.
our yeah, totally.
It's
Our
like
bodies.
a bad prescription medicine commercial. It's like
Totally.
all of this stress and trauma in your life, it will lead to death.
Yeah, man. And you know what the
Like
crazy thing is?
yeah. Sorry, go on.
The crazy thing is it's actually really interesting, and I love sharing this topic with as much levity as possible because this is just information. Like this is not any reason to be scared or to judge or to be like, oh my god, I've been doing it wrong. No, it's all just data to go, okay, cool, how can I do it differently now?
Mhm.
But something really interesting on these juicy jump starts, which if you choose to hop on a call with me, I would love to dive through this with you. One of the things that I'll often hear with people is, we'll ask a question to the effect of, well, what happens if you continue down this path? Of stress, of not being in your fullest
Mhm.
expression, of, whatever it is that's happening for them. And one thing that it's not uncommon to hear people say, I think that I'm going to get sick. Like, I think that I could get some form of illness and potentially die. And this is people that I'm talking to in their 20s, in their 30s. So there's some part of us that knows that being in chronic stress and chronic fight or flight, while we obviously know it's not fun, we also know that it truly has detrimental effects. And there are so many of us that are asking like, well, how do I shift this? What's a different way?
Mm. So true. That's amazing. So I want to shout out. We got Chris on here. We got Nate on here. Other people on here. Chris saying amazing content. Thank you. He's agreeing with you, saying yes, super relevant for today. Nate Price says very interesting topic. And so I want to. So after that long conversation about all of the effects of having cortisol and some of these other naturally produced hormones constantly overproduction of them, one way to begin to remedy that in the body is to use your breath. Like that's how it all started with this
Yeah.
conversation. Just taking that slow breath. See, that wasn't a slow breath, but you want to just get that slow breath in there.
Yeah.
So
And one of the reasons why we used the sound at the beginning, so we can do it again. Like I'm getting invited just so
let's
many
do it
times because
again.
it's
Let's
just
do it again.
training.
Because
So
all this
breathing.
conversation about death and illness, and even it's got me a little tense. That cortisol is flowing through my brain. I can
So
feel it.
breathe in through the nose. That helps access the parasympathetic nervous system in the nose. And then out the mouth with a sigh.
Ah.
So this exhale, and I'll invite you to continue doing it as I'm speaking. So in the nose, out the mouth with a sigh.
Ah.
So that vibration of the vocal cords, and just continue doing it as I'm speaking. That vibration of the vocal cords also will activate the vagus nerve. And as it's vibrating, it talks to the rest of those organs saying, we can go into rest and relax mode. Yeah, totally. And you can have your mouth closed too and just have it be an internal sigh. So this is one of the most common things I'll do throughout the day. Let's do 2 more like that. They're so yummy. One more. And just noticing how you're feeling after that. Noticing your breath is probably a bit deeper. Body's probably a bit more relaxed. The face, the shoulders can be more relaxed. So yeah, this is something that you can do all day. I often encourage my clients, they'll meditate in the morning. The rock stars will even meditate in the evening. And I often encourage in the beginning of this journey to find a time right in the middle of your day to just take some time, have these deep breaths.
That is so fantastic. If you're getting a ton of value out of this, go ahead and drop a hashtag Juicy Transformation in the comments below. We're on here with Kylie McConnell. She is a transformational coach. And if you're interested in getting to work with her, coming to some of her in-person all-day workshops or even her week-long retreats, go ahead and text Juicy Jumpstart to 913-244-8588 with your name and your email. And she's going to be offering you a 90-minute virtual session to get clear on everything that's going on in your life and creating some amazing plans of action, just like this breathing, where you can actually do it, use it in your life so that all your juicy goodness that's locked up inside you can be released into the world. So, oh, Kylie, so amazing. So let me ask you another question. And if you guys have questions that are watching, feel free to drop those in the comments below. We'll get to those for sure.
Please.
So I get that this activates the parasympathetic nervous system and it creates relaxation, creates good health. How does this impact your ability to like enjoy life?
Yeah. Really great question. So I just invite you, those of you watching, to tap into a time in your life where you were just really in pure joy. Like, think of a time where you were just absolutely juiced up. And I'll give you a moment to think about it.
Kylie McConnell's Transformational Bodywork Day.
So think about how you felt. And then we all know the contrast of that are times that when we have stress, how we feel in those moments of stress. I'm not going to have you go into it because our brains actually don't know the difference of if something's actually happening, if we're just thinking about it happening. So there's really no point in recreating the stress chemicals. But the true difference is that when we're in stress, we really aren't fully getting to be ourselves. We go in survival mode. We're really just concerned at that point about whether we are physically alive or not. So being physically alive is very different than fully enjoying our life. Enjoying our life tends to come with those elevated emotions. It comes with things that you love doing. It comes with, potentially relationships, and not just romantic, but like with our friends. So think about the time in your life where you were, you just felt really, really good. You weren't in survival. You were very much in a space where you were in that quote unquote rest and relax mode, right? So when we're in that parasympathetic survival mode, when we're in the fight or flight mode, literally our energy gets pulled away from functions like those, let's call them extra functions of enjoyment and pleasure, because it's just how can we survive right now. Whereas when we're in that sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system, when we're in that space of rest and relax, that's where we get to experience more of those elevated emotions. I often say you can't be in pleasure and survival at the same time, right? It's
Yeah.
one or the other.
I think, I think that goes really beautifully into the whole concept of like being present. And so when you're, and this is just my personal experience, like when I'm with a friend, but I'm like worried about all these other things and I have all that stress going on, that I'm not really with them. I like enjoy my time halfway with them because I'm half there and I'm half somewhere else, as opposed to sometimes I actually do this, like I'm in a place and I notice myself like being off somewhere else and I take those deep breaths and I do a couple sighs to myself. It's funny because I didn't realize I've been doing this, but I have been.
I know, it's so
And
natural.
then, all of a sudden I'm there with that person, or I'm there in that moment, and I'm not in the future, I'm not in the past, and I can really just be like, oh, this is so great. And I can really rejoice in that moment.
Totally.
So that's how it lands over here for me.
I love that you shared that because it made me think about two things. One of them is I didn't realize that this was a driver of my work, but after I had been doing this work for so many years, I realized that it was. Did you ever hear of that study of it was a nurse she worked in hospice, I believe. It was a study called Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Oh my gosh. It is one of the most powerful things I've ever read. This woman interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, and asked, like, what should we focus on? What are just any regrets that you have? And she said there were 5 that were common between literally everyone. And they were things like not living the life that I wanted to live, not letting myself be happy, doing things that everybody else wanted me to do, caring what other people thought. So all of those are actually based in that survival mechanism of it. It's really interesting how deep it goes back. And I just want to encourage everyone that's watching, because so many of us want to change. And the reason that our willpower alone doesn't support in that change is because of what we're talking about, the nervous system, because that survival is so strong, that it goes back to not wanting to be kicked out of the tribe, because if we're kicked out of the tribe, we don't know what could happen. So we want to stay safe. But what can happen is that keeps us from that armor of staying safe and not speaking your full expression, or not doing what you really want because you're scared what other people will think about you. That goes back to this nervous system piece, and that's what stops us from living that full life that we really enjoy. And how I see this show up for people, and this is such a huge piece. I believe that we've inherited a belief that when we have a certain amount of money, then we'll be happy. And so this is how this parasympathetic nervous system, and being in this rest and relax mode. And again, as I'm speaking, I'm going to encourage everyone to continue breathing so that you can do this in real time. how it shows up for people is I work with a lot of people that are very well off financially. I've worked with people that make $1 million a month. Like people that really have got the business side of things down, 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. And one of the top things that I've heard, I would say at one point, like 85% of my clients had ocean view homes. And the thing that every single one of them said is we'd be in their gorgeous home, or they'd walk me through this visual of them being in their home, and they'd point out at the ocean and they say, I have all of this, but I can't even see it. So the difference is when we're in that parasympathetic nervous system, when we're in our bodies, when we're in that calm and that peace, one of the primary things that this helps us to do is actually enjoy the success that we've created. Yeah.
That's so powerful.
It's extremely powerful.
Actually being able to see what our life is.
To feel and enjoy it. Yeah. So what the survival does is it basically says no matter how much you create, it's never going to be enough. That's why so many people are in go, go, go mode, and they're so forward focused and not in this moment, in their bodies, in their hearts. It's because that, it's still survival mode of trying to get by and make enough, whereas it really is not a shift in external circumstances ever. Like with my clients, it's never, oh yeah, let's fix the outside first. It's, okay, in the body, letting go of what was keeping you from being in the body, really nourishing this thing. And the natural order of progression is they feel better first. So they feel the calm and the peace and the clarity and the spaciousness. And again, being in their body and just enjoying the moment. And then from that space, again, like we were saying earlier, there's all the spaciousness for them to feel and enjoy the success that they've already created. But then, their creativity comes online. Like a client of mine, one day we were just talking, and he was so chilled out, and he's like, I feel so great. I don't get triggered anymore. And he had this idea to start this online company. And within months, it was set up. It was so easy. Now it's basically completely replaced his income with passive income from an online company. And he left his job. So it's like because of him being in that space of calm and creativity. Again, just like you can't be in pleasure and survival at the same time, creativity and survival don't happen.
They don't mix.
They do not mix. So those ideas that just kind of land in our lap and allowing everything in, that is being in that rest and relax mode.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of this amazing information and practice. I want to try to transition here, asking a slightly different question, but it kind of goes along with what you were just talking about with this client who created this whole new business. And I know you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. What do you see as the number one thing that holds people back from really living into that creativity and that freedom and that power?
I love this question. And you're right, it actually does go a lot along the lines of what we were already speaking to. So the number one thing that I see that holds entrepreneurs back, and leaders and creatives, just those that I work with, it's so interesting.
What is it? I'm rolling the drums.
When I started seeing this, I was like, oh my gosh, it goes right back to the nervous system that we were talking about. But there is an unconscious fear of them being fully in their power. An unconscious fear of being fully in their power. And how this shows up is they're not in their full expression. They're not, having the prices that they deserve. They are having really shitty boundaries. They're not using their voice. They're people pleasing. They're overgiving. So it's because they've been playing small. And there's an unconscious fear that if they're bright and brilliant and big and in their fullness, that they will be rejected. And it's interesting because this goes back to something that they learned at some point in their life. Oftentimes it's in childhood, in the experience that I had with clients, which is at some point when they were a kid or at some point in a relationship, they were all of them. And then they had that shut down. They were told it was too big, that the emotion shouldn't be there. Maybe it was threatening. And again, this doesn't always have to be like consciously shared. It can be energetic, because especially as kids, we pick up primarily on the energetics and the nervous systems of those around us. And so if we're taught that it's not safe or it's not good or we're not loved, like we lose love when we're in our bigness, then a part of us will shut down because it goes, well, I need love and I'm not being loved in my bigness. But when I'm smaller, people seem to be able to handle me more, and I receive that love. And so again, when we're kids, we need, to be provided for by our caretakers. We don't have money. We're not, paying our own rent and paying for food. So again, it goes back to this survival piece of, well, if I lose love and I lose attention and I lose care, when I'm in that fullness and bigness and I'm taught that it's not good or okay, then that means that you could lose food, you could lose your safety. And then again, in a very survival sense, it goes back to this piece of, if I'm rejected from the tribe, I could die. And it's so nuts that this like totally unconscious part of us that has survival as its main mechanism, how that of, fear of being rejected from the tribe, because if we're unloved as a kid, that's an actual fear, is that we might not be cared for, and that threatens our life, and how that translates into, as adults, we've just learned to get smaller and smaller and smaller and just not be in the full power, not use our voice, not say the things that, that's why vulnerability.
That we want to say. Yeah.
Oh, vulnerability for so many people these days is just terrifying. And you can feel it in your body, right? Like when you need to have that courageous conversation, but you don't want to. It's the same thing. It's that nervous system going into survival mode, except the difference is, as an adult, your life isn't threatened. Your rent will still be paid. You'll still be eating food, it's simply just, it's almost like that survival mechanism gets turned on, and then we are just coasting on autopilot with it on. So what I do with the entrepreneurs is I help them turn that survival mechanism off in that context of like, hey, you don't have to have survival mechanism on to use your voice, to say the things that need to be said, to be in your full power, to express yourself fully. And then so how that shows up is, again, people being able to be in their full power, which can just mean doing the things that you want to do, when you want to do them, how you want to do them. Like, that's freedom, right? It can show up as really deep intimacy with partners because you're saying the conversations and the things that you didn't want to say before. And you're realizing how it doesn't generally, if it's a right relationship for you, it doesn't actually threaten the relationship. It actually brings you even closer.
So being inside of that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and relaxation, that's where the true magic happens.
It's where the true magic happens.
And
It's
it's,
where we get to be in our power.
mm, yeah, totally.
Yeah, because again, it's all of you. When you're in survival, you're not all of you. You're
Your
just
life.
scared. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not
scared.
it's not all of you. You're all, again, remember when we were breathing and thinking into a time in your life that you were just filled with joy, when you felt like all of yourself. You were expressed, right? Like you weren't scared. You were in that authentic power of just your fullness.
Mm-hmm.
And that what I love helping people with is not just letting that be a blip on your radar, but letting that be your life.
Mm. So powerful. Kylie, I'm going to take a pause for here for a second. We're on here with Kylie McConnell. She is amazing. If you've been on here this whole time, then you know already she's jam-packed with value and amazing experiential experiences and coaching. And if you want to get involved with some of her work, she has a transformational bodywork immersion day coming up April 4th here in San Diego. And as well in May, there are a couple spots left for a week-long retreat where you are going to be guided through so many amazing exercises and transformational things that are going to
Yeah.
be happening.
It's a full week for a nervous system reboot.
Oh my goodness, perfect. And so if you're interested in joining either of those experiences or just maybe working with Kylie one-on-one, she is offering a super special Juicy Jumpstart 90-minute virtual session. So you can do it from wherever you are in the world. You don't need to leave your house. And if you're interested in hopping on a call with her, and she's going to take you through what's going on, what's stopping you from getting to what you actually want in life, go ahead and text Juicy Jumpstart to 913-244-8588 and include your name and your email as well. And you guys will set something up, and just you can live a life with more ease, efficiency, and peace.
Mm.
And so, so go, if you haven't already sent her a text, send her a text. Oh my goodness, Kylie's so amazing. I'm gonna leave that on the screen there, and yeah, so we're getting close to like the end of our time here, unfortunately. And I want to ask, is there anything that you wish that we had discussed or you wanted to share that you haven't really had the chance to share yet?
It's a great question. I would say, one of the primary things, because one of the reasons that some people connect with me is I've had a very contrasting journey. I had an autoimmune condition, felt like I was on the just dying inside. Honestly, it was a really challenging time in my life, to the polar opposite of I traveled the world internationally for nearly 5 years nonstop. Like, just, I didn't know when I got to a country, I didn't know if I would be there for a day or if I would die there of old age. Like, I just pure, full living. And the thing that people often ask me is like, how did you make that transition? And the one word that comes up to describe it is sovereignty. Like, really, sovereignty is your personal power. It's you knowing that you are the creator of your reality, that you, like, out of all the things that are happening in your life, you're the common denominator, you know?
Mm,
So, if anything comes out of this conversation beyond you knowing that you have this power of your breath, it links to this sovereignty of, you are so capable and you are so powerful. And that all really is, it's right here in this moment. It's with you all the time. And tapping into that is a superpower. Tapping into your power and your sovereignty and your ability to be and do and have what you want in your life. It's like, it's here right now. It's just kind of like just tapping that keg open and letting it flow abundantly. So that's what I wanted to share is, yeah, it's available to you. Nothing is out of your reach.
Thank you so much, Kylie. That's incredible. I have one last question for you,
Okay,
Kylie, and then
cool.
we'll close it down.
Cool.
What brings you a lot of joy in your
Oh,
life?
oh my gosh. Okay. I'm a huge fan of transparency, so I'll give you the two things that came up.
I love that.
One of them, I think I am a deep lover of pleasure. So self-pleasure is the first thing that came up. I believe that our capacity to feel pleasure in our bodies is limitless. And that is an avenue for me. And another avenue for me is smelling flowers. Oh
Mm,
my goodness. I could do that all day, every day. Um, yeah, the pleasure of our noses is like extraordinary. Yeah, smelling flowers brings me so much joy. It's incredible.
wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of this amazing information and experience and just being your full authentic self on this interview here.
Mm,
Just appreciate you being here and appreciate you sharing all that you have to give. And anyone that's listening, I appreciate you for being on the call. Remember, if you think that you want to work with Kylie, she's giving away a 90-minute session, a juicy jumpstart, and you can grab hold of that and live powerfully into your own life more than you even are right now by just giving a call to the old 913-244-8588 with a juicy jumpstart, the name, your name, and an email. And just remember that you have the power to use your breath to go out in the world and be your greatest contribution to everything and anything that you want. And you can utilize your sovereignty, you can utilize your breath, you can utilize yourself and your power to just be an amazing contribution to people in the world. So with that, I'm going to close it out. We'll stop going live. I appreciate everyone on here. Thank you so much.
can
And
I can
Kylie
I
wants to
share
add
one more
something.
thing before we
Yeah.
stop? Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check our time. I know we're right at time. Can I do like a 2 to
You
3
can
minute
do whatever
experiential
you'd
thing?
like. Yeah.
Cool. So one of the things that I see, especially again with entrepreneurs and people that love personal development, is how we can watch something and let it be an experience and then just go right back in. Because as one of my mentors says, gravity is fierce. So just go right back into the habits and patterns. And so what I'm going to do to wrap this up is we'll do a few more minutes of tapping into that parasympathetic nervous system. And while you're doing it, I'll invite you to really feel how it feels in your body. And then invite yourself for the rest of today, whenever you're watching this, to see how often you can tap into that. Because really, that's all that my journey has been. And for my clients, it's just a muscle that you're working. So we're just going to work it. So can we work it for a couple more minutes and then we'll
I
end?
love that. I would love that
Beautiful.
more than anything.
Super cool. So I invite you to softly close your eyes. Find a comfortable position with your body. And begin bringing your awareness to your breath. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. in the nose. And let's see if we can take a few breaths like that in the nose and either out the nose or out the mouth with a sigh. There we go. As we mentioned, this is helping to activate your vagus nerve, your rest and relax mode. And as you're continuing to do this, breathing in the nose, out the mouth or nose with sounds, just recognizing we'll only be here for a couple more minutes, so there's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. The wonderful news is we're just breathing, so you can't do this wrong. And what we're doing here is just working that muscle of letting your system know how absolutely safe you are. You are so safe. Letting your muscles relax, your body relax, feeling the weight of your body, really letting gravity support you here and fully melting and relaxing your muscles and just feeling how held you are by that surface below you. Really letting the glutes and the thighs melt into the surface below you. There's a surface behind you, letting your back really melt and relax into it. Just no tension, letting it all completely melt down into the earth as you continue breathing in and out with the sigh. All the way down to your feet. And even letting this energy, this nourishment, it's like this honey-like energy flow all the way down your body, down into the earth, like roots from your feet, these energetic roots that have you planted all the way into the earth so that you feel so grounded. And just feeling your power, your strength, how much nourishment you have when you're so deeply connected with the earth like this, just really rooted and grounded in your power. We'll take a few last breaths into your heart. Really feeling what it feels like to lead your life, to be alive in your body, in your heart. And we'll complete like this, feeling this juicy connection with your heart. You're welcome when you feel ready. Stay connected with this feeling as you're softly blinking your eyes open. Stay connected with that rootedness, that groundedness, that power, being in your body, being in your heart as you blink your eyes open. Recognizing that you get to carry this with you throughout the day. It's available for you to tap into at any point in time. And if you'd like to connect more deeply, if you'd love more of this in your life, if you'd like for this to be more than an experience, but a life and a lifestyle, I look forward to hearing from you soon.